Well, hello, everyone. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Welcome to Center Court Live. We are here to talk about a terrific program that is very much in demand these days. It's a Master of Science in Business Analytics. This one in particular is from Wake Forest University School of Business. And here to talk about the program is a graduate of the program, Romain Bogarts, and we'll get to him shortly. We'll tell you what he's all about and how he's used the knowledge gained in the program to pursue his successful career. And we have in the house Claire Dockery, who's the Associate Director of Student Enrollment for the program at Wake Forest University School of Business. So welcome. So let me just mention, Romain's background first. He's Director of Product Management, AI Solutions for Real Chemistry, which is a holding company for a firm called IPM, which only recently, in fact, yesterday, was named by Fast Company magazine one of the 10 top companies in data science. So congratulations, Romain, as being part of that, because you work for IPM.
Correct. Thanks. Super exciting news that came out. Hard work over multiple years from a big team of very talented folks. So very excited about that announcement.
Indeed. Now, Claire, give us the basics of the program. This is a 10-month full-time on-campus program at Wake Forest in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It is STEM certified, which is a great attraction for international students, of course. What do people learn in this program?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a business analytics program. So really combining the hard quantitative technical skill set with the softer business skills. So critical thinking, presentations, and even career preparation. We also integrate that into the program because we know how important that is.
And it starts in July. And your general intake is it about 100 or a little bit more than 100 students?
Typically about 135 students, yeah. And we accept students from all majors and backgrounds. So in the current class, I believe we have over 40 different majors represented. And we also have 90 different universities represented. So a very diverse cohort as well.
So you have both poets and quants in your cohort.
Absolutely, we do. We even have a theater major this year in the current class. I believe he was also a math minor. So he had that quantitative preparation, but we don't exclude any majors from applying.
Wow, that blows my mind that you have a theater major, an MS in business analytics. That tells you something about the world and where it's going.
Absolutely, right.
Now, Romain, you're an early graduate of the program. You graduated in 2018, correct?
Yes, that's right. I think it was a second cohort. Very, very fun, great program. But yeah, very early on, a couple of years back. But
now let's go back. Let's turn the clock back for you and go back to when you were applying. Where were you? What were you doing? And why did you decide that this program was good?
Yeah, so I graduated from undergrad at Wake as well in business and was working in product management for a sporting goods company in Chicago. So a great time, great company. I was learning a lot, but realized that I wanted to be making business decisions, but based not just on experience, not just on opinions, but also really on data. And so I started looking at the problems I was facing on a daily basis in my business, with my business experience with the company I was working with, and realizing that I needed to get new skills. And I wanted the company also to move towards a more data-driven decision-making company. And so, I started reaching out and doing my own research and learning, and realized that there were some programs that had kind of that provided those skills and that intellectual journey that I was thriving to get on. So that's kind of how I started looking for programs, and Wake ended up being one of them. I had gone to Wake undergrad, so I definitely looked at the program. I looked at some others in the US, but also in Europe, given I'm from Belgium originally. But yeah, decided to go to Wake.
And your undergraduate major was what, Romain?
So I studied business in undergrad, so business and enterprise management at Wake Forest in undergrad. So there was definitely some quantitative courses there, some overall business courses from finance and accounting to marketing. So kind of a broad business. I had a broad business sense, I would say, from my undergrad.
Yeah, so you had a foundation of business basics to build upon when you went for your graduate degree.
Exactly.
Now, Claire, you mentioned earlier the diversity of the student body and how many different majors and universities they come from. What percentage of the students are international?
Yeah, so typically about 60% of the class. That's varied over the years, but usually about 60%, maybe a little bit less. But then in terms of our domestic population, we do have a decent number of students like Romain, who we call double deacons, so coming from Wake Forest. But like I said, we still have 90 different universities represented. So really universities from all over the country and of course the world.
What are some of the highlights of the program? What are some of the things that occur in that 10-month period from July to May that make it special?
Absolutely. Yeah, so it's a set curriculum, meaning that all students are taking all of the same classes at the same time. So beginning in the summer term, students are taking 3 classes. One of those is career management, which I mentioned. We actually think that that's so important that we make it a class. And it's taught by my colleagues on the market readiness and employment team who are absolutely outstanding. And I think that our career support is one of the differentiators of the program. For the class, as I mentioned, of about 135 students, we have 2 career coaches who are dedicated to this program. So I think that's really outstanding ratio. And Romain can probably attest to the personalized career attention that he received throughout the duration of the program and even beyond graduation. Starting in the fall, the classes start being divided into what we refer to as mini terms. So you're taking semester-long classes in the fall, but you're also taking shorter 1.5 credit hour courses. And starting in the second half of the fall is when our business analytics practicum begins. And so that is our experiential learning component where students are working on teams of about 5 students, essentially as consultants for real companies. And we have our Center for Analytics Impact that has lots of corporate partners, including Romain's former employer, CVS Health, who he recently moved on from, as well as several of the large consulting firms, several large banks, Procter & Gamble. So these present really unique opportunities for students to apply what they're learning in the classroom to solving a real problem for a real company using their analytical skill set.
How long do these projects last?
Yeah, so they start at the second half of the fall, so typically in October, and then last all the way through the duration of the program until graduation in May.
Oh, wow. So they're substantial projects, and it's a very important piece of the entire program.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fast. Learning by doing is an easier way to learn and a better way to learn. Romain, what was your project on when you were at the school? Do you remember?
Yeah, I definitely do. I was working, a group of 5 folks were working with Procter & Gamble on their, some of their laundry detergent kind of brands and product there. And we were trying to optimize sales and sales of specific SKUs. So should we sell more of the bigger pods or the smaller pods and all those kinds of things? But it was great. It was wonderful experience to really be exposed to real data, real problems in the business world, and not kind of a nice textbook problem. So there were lots of gaps in the data, lots of follow-up questions, business questions, interactions with stakeholders, right? We were interacting directly with Procter & Gamble, interacting internally with our group of 5 people, which I think is a pretty good representation of what a team looks like when you come out of grad school, right? You'll have some peers to work with. You don't need to solve everything by yourself. So So no, really great real world problem solving as a group.
Plus, you were doing it with the premier brand management company in the world.
Exactly.
Plus, I mean, in terms of hitting the bullseye, I mean, it's utilizing vast amounts of data to inform smart decision making, which is the core of what business analytics is all about.
Yeah, correct. So no, that was a great thing. There, I mean, just so many different bits and pieces that got together during that practicum of working with Procter and Gamble, and I'm sure many other companies would have been great matches as well. But yeah, it was a fascinating experience. I look back at it quite often and have some great insights from it, just in a way to handle a project from a very beginning, from a kind of a broad question to using data to refine that question, and then going into actually solving the problem and providing insights that can then lead to better decision and value, really, at the end of the day, impact on a company.
Who was on your team? Just give us a sense of the diversity of your classmates on that project.
No, it's a wonderful team. I think, looking back at those 10, 11 months, it was one of the greatest things was having that team since pretty early on the program. You kind of get together. So we had 2 gentlemen, myself, and then 2 ladies that all had somewhat different backgrounds, I suppose. We had one undergrad in physics and philosophy, so a total poet and quant.
Wow.
Some business majors, two business majors, I think, 1 econ major and 1 math major, I believe. Different backgrounds, 3 internationals, 2 American students, different personalities, some that end up working in healthcare, some in marketing, and some in tech. So everyone kind of went different directions as well, which has been fun to track, and we're still in touch. So
that's terrific. Now, Claire, is this what they call a pre-experience program? Although obviously Romain came to this with some experience, what do you expect of applicants?
Yeah, it is a pre-experience program. That's how we would classify it. And most of our students are coming straight from their undergraduate degree. Although, like Romain, we do have several students each year who have some work experience. Typically, it would be 2 or 3 years or less. Although we do sometimes have outliers who maybe are wanting to make a career shift and they can justify how this degree would be beneficial to them. They also would need to be comfortable with knowing that most of their teammates are going to be students who are earlier on in their career and who are coming straight out of their undergraduate experience. I'm curious, Romain, on your team, were you the only one with work experience, or were there other students who had worked professionally?
Yeah, I was the only one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's pretty typical. Yeah.
It was a great mix. I think it was one of the assets that I could bring to the table, but it definitely helped at times. But I would say that all my peers did have a good sense of business and what to do, and they all had internships and different very valuable experiences that may not have been, your typical job, but yeah, through research or internships that had some valuable.
And Claire, could you speak to the soft part of the program? And when I say soft, what I mean by that is the fact that while it's an MS in business analytics, the students are getting a good dose of leadership skills, teamwork skills, communication skills, things that make one more effective in the world of work.
Absolutely. So we see our program as kind of in the middle in terms of, more technical programs. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you would have softer or even more general business programs. So we do offer a Master of Science in Management, which is going to be more of a broad overview of all of the aspects of business. So we do see the business analytics program as a great mix of both. And certainly the practicum is where a lot of that focus on the presentation skills and making sure that not only do you know how to interpret the data, but more importantly, that you know how to share it and explain it to those in the C-suite who might not have as technical of a background as you do.
Right. Romaine, what were the most popular parts of the program for you? What were the things that you remember most? I'm sure your P&G project has to be way up there, but were there favorite courses, favorite professors that you had?
I think one of my favorite bits was one of the first weeks we got grouped together with that group of 5, and we had a dinner all together. And so getting together with that group was like a highlight, and knowing that we would work together on a Procter & Gamble project, but also on different projects, like within classes, right? So we'd have a marketing analytics class, and we'd have a little group project, and it was the same group team. So that was awesome working with those folks. And Procter & Gamble's part of that, but just the overall experience of going from marketing project to an HR analytics class to a supply chain class, and then working on different group projects and individual projects together was great. I really, actually, to Claire's point just now, I really enjoyed a class that we had. I'm not sure it's still on the curriculum, but it was analytics in the boardroom. So really how to tell that story to C-suite executives. And
that is still part of the curriculum.
And that was
we reworked it a little bit, but yes.
Yeah, I think the name may have changed, but I thought that was it was a very challenging class, because we went through different exercises. To build a 30-minute long presentation for peers or technical folks, and then we had to drill that down to a 10-minute presentation a few weeks later, to a 5-minute, and then to a 30-second pitch, which is very realistic. When I got out of college and worked at CVS, being able to use data, but then tell a story, and then tell a story to a certain audience, I think that then you become extremely valuable to make quick decisions. And some of it is because of technicality and understanding what the folks in the room know and don't know. But some of it is just because they have to make a lot of very important decisions. And so hopefully the data has clear signal and can tell you and explain, this is a very clear decision. We do not need to spend hours on this if the work's been done before. So that was a great class, and it was challenging in different ways, not because of the technicality, but actually simplifying very complex stories, very complex methodology. And that's been very helpful in my career so far.
Yeah, I would imagine that, frankly, translation of data to executives who are not as well attuned to the complexities that occur in the data is an essential part of making this degree very useful. So I find that exercise fascinating. I think that's really cool.
No, it was a great experience. And it's really, I think, when you think of the program as a whole, and Claire mentioned it earlier, and you mentioned it, there's soft skills and hard skills, and it's what makes it valuable is the combination of both, right? If you have one soft skill that you're very good at, let's say, I don't know if it's singing or communicating or other things, you can be very successful in life, and that's great. But your likelihood of being valuable when you can bring multiple skills, and especially soft and technical skills together, that's when you can add like incremental value, I'd say, to companies. So thinking through that lens and looking back, the program was very helpful for me.
Now, how did the support from the career staff help you in your search for a job after the program?
Oh, they helped so much. I still have a personal relationship with Sharon. She was awesome and still is, and we still talk regularly. Look, it's extremely stressful when you're in a program that is that technical and that challenging, and you're working and trying to get through classes and grades and thinking about your longer term projects and short term projects. And on top of all that, you need to find a job, right? At the end of the day, it's a big part of why one may join the program. I mean, it's not the only thing, but it is important. And the job search is non-linear and not necessarily very clear and straightforward, right? Some people have one interview and get a job. Some folks need to go through hundreds of interviews, and that's not because of them, but just because of the process in general. So they're so helpful in helping you save time, helping you define your goals and objectives, what would be a good fit for you, but also for the company, right? So reducing noise, because these days, I think with the internet, you can just apply to so many jobs. So drilling it down to things that might be good opportunities for you, right? And they help build a personal relationship. And I think it's so important because it's one thing to provide advice on career. It's another one to know someone, what they may or may not like, and even push them different directions and really question some of their, because some folks have this very kind of, I want to work in X, Y, or Z industry, but opening those perspectives and challenging some of the assumptions, and building a relationship with the career coaches to then find jobs. So it was a great experience on a personal level, but it also led to me getting a job, and I worked with them very closely and had a few job offers because of very good advice. So it separates, I think, Wake as a school and the MSBA program as a whole from other programs.
And I also think that business analytics has even gone bigger and more important since the time you graduated in 2018. And the market has become very good for graduates of these programs. You were mentioning Sharon. I should just point out that you were referring to Sharon Vogler, the Senior Associate Director of Market Readiness and Employment, who helps people get jobs. Talk a little bit, if you can, about the career outcomes, Claire, in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned earlier, John, for our class of 2021, we do report career outcomes 6 months after graduation. So we recently were able to analyze that data, and we are very pleased that 95% of the class received at least an offer 6 months beyond graduation. And salaries are staying strong. About $75,000 is the average salary for our starting students who are, graduating. This is their first position. And we see a wide array of industry, a wide array of functional responsibilities that students are getting, a lot of consulting interest, a lot of finance, but then healthcare analytics, marketing analytics, across a wide array of industries. So like you mentioned, we do have the full career report available on the website. So you can see by industry and by function, and also a list of companies that have recently hired our graduates.
Yeah, I want to just point out to our audience how crucial that is. When you look for a master's program, transparency is essential. And the fact that the school is publishing this data in the reports for you to look at is a very big, important element in helping choose a program. And it's a really impressive report. I mean, graduates in your class of 2021, they got jobs at Apple, Google, Microsoft, Deloitte, PwC, Accenture, Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble, and the list goes on, Dell, Bank of America, EY, Hershey's, Disney, Accenture. I mean, it's really very impressive, the companies that are recruiting your students and employing them. And it's obviously a testament to the quality of the intake. Mm-hmm. You're getting good students and you're teaching them important skills, and they're very much in demand. Romain, I wonder if you might comment on, you mentioned you had several opportunities back in 2018. Mm-hmm. How have you used what you learned in the program since your graduation for your different employers?
Well, at its core, I'm focused. I mean, now I'm focused more on product management and launching products, but I almost start every problem. I'm trying to look at every problem from a data-centric perspective, right? And trying to look at it. What's the data telling me more so than what's my opinion? So I think every problem can be looked at, and that's really now, I mean, as I get older and further in my career, it becomes more and more about strategy and perhaps less about doing. But the program really installed that in my mind, a way of looking at problems differently, regardless if it's a marketing problem or a supply chain problem or a finance problem. That there's ways of looking at data, analyzing data, creating a hypothesis, and kind of a scientific way of approaching problems, and then framing that problem. I think once you frame the problem in an analytical way, many different teams and many different data professionals, from data engineers to data scientists, can look at the problems and solve them. So all of that, kind of that way of thinking and solving problems was learned during the MSBA program. And then taking that as we talked about earlier, and providing recommendations and insights. Now, I'm actually making some of the decisions these days, and that's kind of how I've evolved in my career. But I still look at the decision making as a data-driven process, and so
right.
It's come back, maybe not less and less about the technical skills, because those have evolved and will continue to evolve. And a programming language that may be very trendy today may not be in 10 years, but the thinking about it and the way of using it and why you're using it and how you're using it will always kind of be relevant. And so the philosophical thinking behind it becomes a driver of success, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, right. Claire, when you ask students and graduates, in fact, what most resonates with them about the program after they graduated, what do they say? Are there three things that really stand out for them?
Three is hard. But I do think in general, I hear a lot about the practicum experience. And, the intent of that is not that company that they worked with will directly hire them, although that certainly has happened. But I think more, as Romain spoke to, those skills that they learned and really being able to put what they're learning in the classroom into practice. We intentionally designed the curriculum so that it progresses over the 10 months from more theoretical to more practical. So by the time you are presenting your final recommendations and findings and model to your client, you are directly learning all of that, in the classroom that term. So I think that's the number one thing that I tend to hear. Second, as we've already covered.
That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Second, as we've already covered a lot, our robust career services. And then third, I think just the general environment here at Wake Forest and the School of Business of being very student-centered in all of our decisions that we make. I think students really feel that in all aspects of the program, and the friendliness that Wake Forest is known for, and feeling very supported in their entire time during the program, from even working with my team on the admissions side, but all the way through the program and beyond. And I think Romain is a great testament to it, since he still has a great relationship with Sharon, which just speaks to how, again, student-centered and how student-focused and really caring about our students, not just as students, but as people.
Yeah, and I think anyone who goes to the website, here's what I really love about your website on the program. You give email addresses for every critical player in the program, from Jeff Cam, who's a Senior Associate Dean of Business Analytics Programs. You can get his email and talk to him directly. Claire has her phone number and her email right on the website. You can reach her. You can reach Sharon, who we mentioned several times as well, who's in the position of getting jobs for people. So the transparency and the accessibility of the people speaks very loudly on the website. Now, Claire, what are the admission requirements to apply for the program?
Yeah, so we practice rolling admissions, which means that we are continually evaluating applicants. Each year, the application opens in August, and as we discussed, the class starts in July. So typically, we're wrapping up the cycle in early June. But essentially, the online application is very straightforward. We ask for a one-page resume, and we also provide you with a suggested template that all of our students will end up needing to use. So if you want to go ahead and get your resume in the Wake Forest preferred format, that's a great pro tip for you. But then we also, of course, ask for your transcript. We do require the GMAT or the GRE, although we do have a waiver policy for students who attended an undergraduate institution in the US and received at least a 3.2 GPA or higher, as well as B's or better in 2 or more quantitative classes, then that can be waived. We have 3 short answer questions, just understanding you and your motivations for pursuing the degree, as well as some examples of leaders that you've worked with. And then we do have an interview component. and that finalizes the application process. We try as best we can to streamline it, and especially in our review, typically from when you complete your application, we will provide you with an admissions decision in 2 weeks.
And for domestic applicants, you're still open for the early July start. I think
We are.
Right? Your U.S. application deadline is June 1.
Yes, we're actually still accepting applications for international students as well. You have, I believe, 6 more days until March 15th. So we recently did extend that deadline to accommodate increased interest from our international applicants. So if you are a current senior or an early career professional watching this and you are excited about the program, feel free to go ahead and submit an application.
Terrific. Now, Romaine, what's your advice to someone who would be interested in studying business analytics and considering the program?
I mean, this may sound quite generic, but I suppose be curious. I think curiosity is what got me there, but also will get you to the next step after the program. I think the reason to look into data, manipulate data, get insights from data should come from a curious perspective, and curiosity has led to big achievements and opportunity and innovation and happiness, really. So I think be curious, and then data is important, but I think ideas might be more important. I think we often talk about data being the new oil, which might be true, and one could argue it's true. I think ideas are actually more so the new oil. And so thinking of data that should actually have an impact and bring business value and solve a problem and join into an idea more so than just crunching and mining data, really trying to bring it back to an idea and an opportunity. So yeah, be curious and keep bringing new ideas to the table.
And that reaffirms Wake Forest's emphasis on leadership skills and communication and skills and teamwork, because it's those things that give you traction. Yes, you need to understand how to use data to make decisions, but you need to be persuasive and work with others to be truly effective in the world of work. So Claire and Romaine, thank you so much for joining us today. Really enjoyed it. For any of you who are interested in Wake Forest University's School of Business MS in Business Analytics, check out the website. It's terrific. You get a full class profile and know who's going and what's expected of you. The employment report is terrific, gives you a really good sense of the career outcomes that people are experiencing from the program. And I'm just going to let Claire give the last words because I want to ask her about scholarship aid. You know, the price tag on the program, I think, is very reasonable. It's $53,000 with tuition and fees included for an on-campus full-time program. Are scholarships available?
Yes, they are. And all applicants are automatically considered for them just by applying for admission. There's no separate application. And we do consider students who wish to be considered for need-based aid as well. So if you are interested in that, you can check the box, and we will also consider you for need-based aid in addition to merit-based.
Fantastic. So Romaine, it was a pleasure to meet you. Congratulations again on working for a company that was named one of the top 10 most innovative companies in data science by Fast Company. Claire, great to see you again. Claire is at Wake Forest, but I know her from her earlier days at Duke Fuqua. So great to see you again. And for all of you out there, I hope you found this very useful and helpful in your own journeys in higher education and in your professional careers. This is John Byrne with Poets and Quants. Thanks for watching.